The United stand on today's afternoon show. It is jam-packed. We have some transfer news coming in about Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall from Leicester. This is heating up. Ineos like him. Ben Jacobs have reported it, and now Muppeteers are also reporting it on Twitter as well. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, would he be a good signing for Manchester United? And we're going to talk about Manchester United's transfer battle. Multiple different names being linked to Manchester United. Guirassy, Toney, Benjamin Sesko. There is going to be a lot of clubs in the race, not only the likes of the Arsenals and the Chelseas, but West Ham entering the race for Toney and Sesko. Not Toney and Sesko, Toney and Guirassy as well. Going to talk about that. Going to talk about the fees and what this would cost, which one we would want to go to. Going to get interactive in the chat. Also, some news coming out about a possible swap deal between Juventus and Manchester United for Juventus and Bremer and Mason Greenwood. I mean, I don't think there's any truth in that. We're going to talk about it. Getting linked to Graham Potter again. Graham Potter and De Zerbi keep getting linked to Manchester United. Could he be Ineos's pick for the manager in the summer? And also a little bit of news on Wan-Bissaka's possible exit and Jeremy Frimpong coming into Manchester United as well. But good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the 2 p.m. show. Going to get a poll running straight away. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall to Manchester United, yes or no? Actually, going to save that one. Going to get a poll going, starting off with, which striker would you want to bring to Manchester United out of Guirassy, Sesko and Toney? We'll start with that poll. We'll move on to the Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall one when we move on to that. I'm going to start with the strikers actually at the start of the show, because the strikers is what's really interesting me. Because Manchester United are going to get a striker. We are going to buy a striker in the summer. What striker is it going to be? We still don't have anything nailed down. Ben Jacobs were talking on the show with us yesterday. If you haven't seen that interview, please check it out. He's so articulate, Ben, and he's really knowledgeable as well. He will never over-egg the pudding. He will always tell you the truth. And he says that Manchester United aren't sure what direction they're going to go in, which lines up with what Romano said to us as well, but said that we're absolutely interested in Benjamin Sesko. Spoke a little bit about the possible fee for Ivan Toney and if Manchester United can get themselves into that race. And there's been some news coming out over from Germany today about a possible swoop for Guirassy. But Guirassy is hot property at the minute, and we're not the only club that's looking at him. So get in the comments what direction you'd want to go for. Obviously, all range in different fees and all range in different levels of experience in the age. Premier League, you know, Ivan Toney plays in the Premier League. The other two don't, and they play from different leagues. And get in the comments what you think anyway, and I'm going to go through it in a second. So, want to get into the strikers. Oh, also, Harry Maguire, he is expected to be fit for Coventry. So Harry Maguire will be fit for the game against Coventry in the FA Cup. That is a huge boost, because if he wasn't, we would be absolutely snookered in terms of our centre-backs. Varane's still out, Johnny Evans is still out. It's going to be Harry Maguire and Cambuala again against Coventry in the FA Cup. Thank God we have at least one experienced centre-back available, so that is a huge boost for Coventry, coming in from Samuel Luckhurst. He missed training yesterday, but he's going to be fit for the game against Coventry. But in terms of the news coming out surrounding strikers, get voting in the poll, I'm going to look at that in a second. So first up, you have Guirassy, and it is coming in around Guirassy that Manchester United are still looking to sign the Stuttgart striker Serhou Guirassy and are ready to pounce this summer. Remember, highly linked to him in January, but Manchester United didn't have a penny to their name, didn't want to spend any money, so we couldn't pull the trigger. But he has since continued to lit it up after getting back from AFCON for Stuttgart, and he's actually, let me have a look at this, he's scored in his last 6 Bundesliga appearances, including a brace in the victory over Wolfsburg, and the forward now, 28-year-old forward, has 27 goals to his name this season, and apparently Manchester United are really looking at this option. It is believed that the 17 million release clause remains active in Guirassy's contract. We know that Stuttgart has tried to get him to sign another contract. He's not done it. He is going to be on the move in the summer. And I'm sure a lot of clubs are going to be looking at this for £17 million. But United will face a battle to complete the deal, because apparently West Ham are also thought to be keen, and other clubs are keen on Guirassy as well. Remember, West Ham need a striker. They're going to be replacing Antonio in the summer, and don't count West Ham out just because they're a big club. Just because they're not a big club like, you know, the Arsenals and the Chelseas. West Ham are going to have money to spend to replace Antonio. I mean, they've signed some good names in recent transfer windows. I mean, Paqueta, you've got, who else did they sign who I thought was a really good signing? Mohamed Kudus. Like, they have signed well. So Don't rule West Ham out. Ciro Guirassy, £17 million, 27 goals this season in the Bundesliga. Would you pull that trigger? Vote down below. Let me see what you're going for in the chat. I mean, out of them 3 names, I absolutely would be going for Ivan Toney personally. So far, you lot are voting for you lot are voting for Benjamin Sesko. I wish you were voting for Toney. You lot are voting for Benjamin Sesko down in the community. We'll move on to the news around him and his goals and everything like that in a second. A lot of people are big fans of Benjamin Sesko. Big fans. And I think he's a good player. There's a lot of clubs in the race for him. But I do wonder, like, why people are so convinced by Sesko. Like, what makes you completely convinced by Sesko? He absolutely has a high ceiling, but his numbers aren't absolutely ridiculous. He's playing for Leipzig. He's doing well, but it's nothing like off the scale. I wonder why. Do people like him because of his potential? Get in the comments down below. Ashton says, Toney, no question. Sesko is another Timo Werner. I don't think he's another Timo Werner, but I wonder why people are so convinced of him. 51% are going for Sesko at the moment, 14% Guirassy and 35% of Toney. What puts you guys off Guirassy? You know, there's a world where you could potentially get 2, you know, for only 17 million. Guirassy knows where the back of the net is. Is he the right profile to bring in, though? I don't think he would mind playing second fiddle to Rasmus and competing for that spot. I think, you know, coming from Stuttgart, taking that leap, I don't think he's going to walk into the club and expect to start every week. So it kind of fits that role. But is he good enough? Is he the right profile? 28 years old, you know, why is he never really been looked at by top clubs around Europe up until this point? Is he just a late bloomer? Get in the comments what you think. But got a good injury record as well, Ciro Guirassy, been fit for the majority of the season and has produced for his team. But next up, so I want to talk about Ivan Toney next, and then I want to talk about Benjamin Sesko. So Ivan Toney, now it is being reported that he is going to be going for a slightly lower price than what we initially thought. That was coming in from Plettigol. But Ben Jacobs on the show yesterday said that he would be very surprised if Brentford would be willing to let Ivan Toney go for the 30 to 40 million price tag that that Plettenberg put on through Sky earlier in the week. I think it was maybe the end of last week. He said that Ivan Toney could be going for 35 to 40 million. Plettigol on Twitter said that, and he's been good around certain transfers, but I don't believe that. He said it could be a package deal that goes over £70 million. How would you feel about that? I don't think Man United go anywhere near that, but Brentford could be forced to lower the price, with apparently Arsenal and Chelsea looking at other options. Because remember, Arsenal and Chelsea both will be looking for a striker this summer. But don't count West Ham out of the Ivan Toney deal either. They will have money to spend and they are looking for a striker to replace Antonio. Now, I think if Ivan Toney had the option of Man United or West Ham, I think he would pick Manchester United. But don't rule West Ham out, and Manchester United don't have loads of money to spend on each position. I personally think, and Sam as well, the reporter for the United Stand, said that the price of 35 to 40 mil will not be the price for Toney. It will be higher than that. I think we might be priced out of a move for Ivan Toney, but if Brentford do want to sell in the summer and want to get a fee for him, bear in mind he's on the last year of his deal, they might have to lower it if not as many parties go in for it. Is he someone that you'd want to bring in? Out of the 3 options, I think it's the most bulletproof in terms of he will score goals, he is Premier League proven, he is experienced. But then again, a lot of people are worried about what it'll do to Rasmus's development. I think it'll massively help him. Ivan Toney's got loads of strings to his bow. I think his experience would massively help Rasmus. He's 28. You know, by the time Ivan Toney gets to like 32, 33, Rasmus is literally in his prime, 25, 26. I think it works perfectly. But I know a lot of people aren't a fan of the history that comes with Ivan Toney, and also feel like the price might be a little bit too high. So get in the comments in the chat what you think. I think Man United would be foolish to miss out on this opportunity. I've said anything up to 60 mil on Ivan Toney, I would pull the trigger. Goes over 60 million. I just don't think that Manchester United could be looking to do that. Year left on his deal. I know he's an England international. I know he's top quality. But over 60 million, we can't afford to be spending on just one position this summer. So that's Ivan Toney. Ben Jacobs yesterday said that Manchester United could be one to watch with the Ivan Toney deal if the price tag does lower to what he expects it to be. But we don't think the price tag is going to be that low. So I think United will end up going for this, but I think it would be a great deal for us to do. I mean, just a little backstory on this as well. Thomas Frank has said already to the media, it is relatively obvious that Ivan Toney will probably be sold in the summer, but it will be expensive to sell our best player. He says that we know what he is worth. I don't think there are many strikers in the world who are better than him right now. So Thomas Frank setting Brentford up to hopefully get a hefty fee. But Brentford are going to have to make a decision because apparently not as many teams are interested in him as what they thought, probably because of the stuff with the betting that had him banned. Maybe clubs are a bit dubious whether to go there now because of obviously what they've seen what's happened with Tonali, and you can understand that. So they might have to lower their price tag if they want to get a fee for him. It'll be interesting to see what decision they make. Keep voting on the poll, everybody. The Irish Zombie said, Toney is guaranteed goals and the rest are all risks. Completely agree. Completely agree, and that's why I think we should go for him. I don't understand why people are so convinced by Benjamin Sesko. I think he's a great young striker and his trajectory looks great, but bringing him in now, it's another risk. He's not guaranteed to score goals straight away, especially in a side that's struggling to create. Tom Edwards says, Toney is a player who attracts defenders, which opens up more space for other attackers. Hit the nail on the head there, Tom. Ivan Toney helps you with your forward play. He comes and gets the ball, his link-up play's good, he's got experience, he bullies defenders, he brings players into play. He's excellent. It's what Man United need, in my opinion, but I don't think it's going to be in our price range, unfortunately. Patrick Lynch says, Toney's off-the-field issues would be okay within a well-run club. United aren't that right now. He's an explosive personality too. Can our dressing room handle it? I just think he's super, super confident, and I like that. I've said it on previous shows. There's nothing wrong with a confident, borderline, arrogant striker. We've had them at United before, and they've been very successful. He believes in his own ability. I don't think there's anything wrong with that, personally. But yeah, let's move on to Sesko because we've got loads more news that I want to cover. So Benjamin Sesko, 20 years old, obviously super young. You're going down the young route there. Two young strikers in Rasmus and Sesko. And his contract at RB Leipzig contains a release clause of £42 million, €50 million that can be activated in the summer. So again, that's a good price. For a striker, bear in mind, you know, Arsenal, Chelsea, other clubs around Europe are going to be looking at strikers. There's not that many on the market. Benjamin Sesko for €50 million, £42 million, that's a price that Man United can afford. He's got 13 goals and 2 assists in all competitions this season for Leipzig. But just to put it into perspective, Højlund has 7 goals in 24 matches for Man United in the Premier League this season. Sesko has 9 goals in 26 in their respective leagues. Obviously, we know Højlund's been massively undercut by the lack of service, and it is super unfortunate. I think Højlund in a functioning team would be scoring way more goals than that. It took a while to get off the mark, had that bit of a purple patch, now he's struggling for service again. Rasmus, I just think going into next season with Rasmus and Sesko, it is a lot of risk. It is a lot of risk. Also, apparently Arsenal are massively looking at Benjamin Sesko, and if Sesko has the option of going to Arsenal or Man United, let's be real, he's picking Arsenal. They're in a better position than us right now. So Man United might miss out on these sort of opportunities as well. That is also something that you have to consider. You know, Benjamin Sesko, he goes to Chelsea even, he's probably going to be number 1 choice as a striker. He goes to Arsenal, he's going to start up front. He goes to United, you've got Rasmus to compete with, who we've heard that United have the backing to be the number 1 striker. And for United, we've got Højlund, who's young, who's growing, who's developing. Is it the right route to go down that? Is it the right decision to go down that route again? Or should we go for someone who's more experienced and guaranteed to score goals in the Premier League? Obviously, United also need to function better. We need to create more chances. There's that added on top. But they're the options that currently Man United keep getting linked to. So get in the chat what you guys think. I think a lot of people want Sesko, but how much are you actually watching week in, week out of Benjamin Sesko? What I've watched of him in the Champions League, I wasn't massively impressed, but I do think he has got heaps and heaps of potential. But should Man United go down the route of potential again? Are we potential FC, or do we go for someone now who is proven and he's going to come in, he's going to score goals, he's played in the Premier League before? Yes, it's probably going to be a little bit more expensive, but you know what you're getting. I'd go down that route personally, but it's all about the community. I love this community, and get your votes in for us in the chat. Vicky says Toney would either be really good or really bad, bit of a risk. I mean, the only risk with Toney is if the betting stuff happened again. Apart from that, he would be excellent in terms of ability. I have no question about his ability. I have no question. The only thing is unfortunately, I don't think Ivan Toney would come into the club to play second fiddle. That'd be a proper competition with Rasmus and Toney. But at Manchester United, that should be the case. There should always be competition. No one should ever be comfortable. And I think that just makes both of them better. I think that's a good thing. No one should ever be comfortable. And say if Toney got injured or Rasmus got injured, you know you've got someone there who can score you goals, and you know you've got someone there who has the quality and the ability to lead the line for Manchester United. In the chat, votes gone slightly up more for Toney, so 36% for Toney, 50% for Sesko, 14%, now 15% for Guirassy. I think the only thing that's swaying people towards Guirassy is the price tag. 17 million is a steal. Is he just having a purple patch of a season though? Is he the quality to come into Manchester United? For me, I'd have Toney as my number one option, Sesko second, Guirassy third, personally. Just purely because Ivan Toney, proven, gonna work, ability-wise, he's top class. Sesko, you've got the potential there. You've got years ahead of him. You've got the trajectory. You've got the potential. Guirassy, it is a massive risk. It's only 17 million, so you're not really going to lose out money-wise. But he's not exactly, you know, a young player that you're taking a risk on either. He's 28. So it's not as such as a risk in the fact he's only 17 million, but I just question whether this is just, you know, one of them seasons where Guirassy's just completely come to life, and would he be able to do that at Manchester United, at Manchester United's team in the Premier League? I don't know, but I've not watched much of him. Out of them three, I would have watched Guirassy the least, so I can't comment as much, but that would be kind of my ranking in terms of the strikers. Get in the chat down below. Kelly says, can't trust Beth after Onana, to be honest. Onana will be a top keeper in a team that's functioning and plays to his strengths. I actually think Onana's been good in the Premier League this season. I think his Champions League disaster made people massively have a different perception of him, of how he's played in the Premier League. I think in the Premier League he's been good. I think particularly since January 2024, he's been excellent. I mean, he got Player of the Month. That doesn't say a lot for United. Keepers shouldn't really be getting Premier League Player of the Month if it's the team's functioning the way it should be. We've not been. But I think in a team that plays to his strengths, people would be singing his praises. But we don't. We don't play to his strengths whatsoever. So hold out on the Onana one. Hold out on the Onana one is all I would say on that. But moving on, next is Dewsbury-Hall. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. This is a name that keeps getting linked to Manchester United. Currently plays for Leicester, 25 years old. This is very, very rogue. What has been reported previously, quite a while ago, from Ben Jacobs was Ineos's interest in bringing Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall to Manchester United. Then, on our interview with Ben Jacobs yesterday, if you watched it, very informative, said that Manchester United are eyeing up Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall as an Eriksen replacement if Eriksen leaves Manchester United in the summer, which is looking quite likely. We know Eriksen's already had an issue with the game time he's got this season. He's not been the same player since Andy Carroll's basically career-ending tackle on him, let's be honest. And he's probably best for most parties if Eriksen moves on. Now, Ben Jacobs said United are eyeing him up for an Eriksen replacement. Then it came out from the Muppeteers on Twitter just before the show, the same thing, that Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall are looking at, sorry, not Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall, Manchester United are looking at Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall as a replacement for Christian Eriksen. Now, what do we think about this? We know that the Muppeteers have a great source in the club. They've been very good on transfer stuff before and stuff to do with Sir Jim and the ownership. So I'm kind of looking here. Ben Jacobs doesn't make stuff up. Everything he says, I completely trust. Muppeteers have had a really good track record as well. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is definitely being looked at by Ineos and Manchester United. Is that the right move? Now, before I have my say, get your comments down on it. We'll end the poll on the strikers and we'll bring in the poll, Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall to Manchester United, yes or no. Would you go for him? But I dug up a little bit of information about what Ben Jacobs had previously said about what his price tag would be. So, the price tag, Ben Jacobs has said in the past, is that Manchester United have made an initial inquiry to Leicester for midfielder Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall's entourage. If Leicester are promoted this season, his price will be £40 million. If they are not, he can leave for £25 million. So that's a big difference. 25 million to 40 million is quite a big difference. Leicester are currently, if I'm not wrong, second in the Championship. Let me get it up. So Leicester are currently second in the Championship on 88 points, but they've also played a game less than Leeds United and Ipswich. Ipswich are on 89 and Leeds United are on 87. Southampton in fourth, who've played the same amount of games as them on 84. So it is a tight race to get promotion in the Championship. I personally think Leicester probably will go up, which means a £40 million price tag. And for that, I'm going to be honest, absolutely no. Absolutely no. Even for 25 million, I'm questioning it. And the reason why I'm questioning it, and the reason why I wouldn't do this deal, it's not to do with Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall's ability, because for one, I actually think he's a good player. And when he was playing for Leicester and they were in the Premier League, I thought he was a good player. I do think Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is a good player. He's got high energy. He's actually a boyhood Manchester United fan. Apparently, he's spoken in interviews before, speaking about how he's consistently watched Paul Scholes and he feels like he's seen every clip of him on YouTube. He likes to try and play like Paul Scholes did. He sees similarities in their game. Obviously, Paul Scholes is a number 8 for Manchester United. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall plays as a number 8 as well. It's a central midfielder. So he is a good player. The reason why I wouldn't go for it is because, for me, it's nowhere near a priority. Eriksen has played as an 8 for Manchester United. That's probably not even Eriksen's best position. Eriksen's best position has probably been as a 10, but he's played predominantly as an 8 for Manchester United. Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall is an 8, and I think he's a good player to play transitional football, which is what Man United currently want to do under Erik ten Hag. He's got high energy, he's good on the ball, he can score goals. I think he's a good player, but I don't think we should be going for his sort of profile, personally. If we're going to spend money on a midfielder this summer, we should be spending it on a deep-lying midfielder. And I know ultimately you need 3 solid midfielders that are going to be able to do the work going forward and going backwards for Manchester United. Ricky spoke about that numerous times and I agree with him. But for me, Casemiro should be moving out and we should be looking for someone to play as the anchor of that midfield. I'd even be looking to go for someone who, I've said it so many times, a hybrid of a 6/an 8, someone who is physically capable, an excellent duel winner, but he's also good on the football as well and can progress the ball. So I'm not looking for much. I am looking for much, but Manchester United, that's what we should be going for. If we're going to spend a chunk of money on a midfielder, I want someone who can play as a 6, can play as an 8, a hybrid sort of role, but he's very good at their job. Are they physically capable? Can they win balls in the air? Are they good with the ball at the feet? Can they carry the ball? Are they a good duel winner? There's a lot of attributes that we need, because I think it's important to stack your midfield with players with these sort of attributes. But it also makes me question, are Manchester United planning to move into next season with Kobbie Mainoo as their number 6? Currently, Kobbie plays the majority of his games for Manchester United as a number 8, but he has played as a 6 as well. He can play both positions. I've said that. I've said he's so good, he can play both positions. But I think it would be a real shame if we used him predominantly as a 6 and we never used him for his attacking qualities, because he can draw multiple players to the ball because he's excellent at keeping it. He can dribble through like 3 different players. He's highly press resistant. He can score a goal. So I'd be looking to play someone alongside Kobbie, mainly as like a double pivot. Someone who, Kobbie can go forward, they can sit back. Kobbie can sit back, they can go forward. And now some people might think Dewsbury-Hall can do this. I don't think I've seen enough of him to accurately say what I'm sure, 100% sure that he could. But for me, I don't get why you'd go for Dewsbury-Hall if we've already spent 60 million last summer on Mason Mount. Like, we've got Bruno who can score goals and he's a creative midfielder. We've got Mason Mount who can score goals, who is a creative midfielder. I know Dewsbury-Hall, his position is slightly deeper than the likes of a Mason Mount, but we also, I think, brought Mason Mount in as an option to play slightly deeper as well and play as an 8. And I think Ten Hag planned to maybe transition him into that role. If we're going to go for a number 8, if we're going to go for a midfielder this summer, or we're going to go for a number 6, I think we should be going for a 6/8 hybrid centre defensive midfielder role. I've said that so many times. Let's buy a player that's best in class in that position. Let's not go for someone who, could play there, or maybe he can play there. No, let's get someone who can absolutely boss that role, which is why I wouldn't be looking to dash out 40 million. It's looking most likely, if Leicester get promoted, on Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. That's just my opinion, and I'll bring in what Mark had to say in a second. Going to look at what you guys have to say as well. So, Dewsbury-Hall to Man United, yes or no? I'm going to vote no in the chat. 57% say no, 43% said yes. Wow, okay, so it's actually more 50-50 than what I thought it would be. I thought it'd be a landslide to a no, to be honest with you. And a lot of people saying we're going for him because, you know, it's the British core. I'm not sure about that. I mean, obviously he does fit that mould that we've spoke about before, but I think we need to be going for quality over what nationality a player is as well. And Caven says, getting a striker to play graveyard shift is a joke. We need wingers that can create and look to create possession. A creative attacking midfielder, defensive midfielder, 2 ball-playing centre-backs, a left-back and a right-back. Kevin, I think you're absolutely correct. We do need to improve our creativity, and we also need to look for players in all of them positions. David James says, buy Toney, Elise, a CDM and Kimmich. Hall is a good player. That's what I'm saying. He is a good player. And I'm not doubting the fact he's a good player for 1 second. But is he the right profile to bring in this summer? Is he the priority? Considering all the positions we need to go for. Elise as a right wing looks like it's going to be nailed on. A striker, 2 centre-backs, you know, a centre defensive midfielder, a left-back, even a right-back in Frimpong we're getting linked to. Is he the right profile? Ian Pilarski says, Beth, I am struggling to get excited over any of the names connected with us at the moment. I feel like we've lowered our standards way too much. I do think a lot of it is just hearsay at the moment, Ian, so I wouldn't get too carried away. But also, we've signed big names in the past that we've been massively excited over, and they've failed the majority of the time. So I don't think we should write any signings off until we see them play for Manchester United. But I can understand your fear in certain aspects, because it ultimately comes down to whether you rate these players or not, and whether you think they're priority positions for us. And we've got a few more super chats coming in as well, saying, Savage says, I honestly think we should stay away from superstars. Exactly. Like, we've gone for superstars in the past. Like, remember how buzzing we were for Jadon Sancho? That didn't work out the way we wanted it to. I mean, we've bought big names and they've not been as successful as we thought. So building a squad of players that are, you know, between 20 to 50, 60 million, or even less than that, like hidden gems, that could be a way forward for Manchester United, because we've spent big on big names before and it hasn't worked out for us. I mean, there's so many I could name. So I'm not going to write any transfer off from now unless it's someone who I've genuinely seen play a lot and do not think at all they have the right qualities to play for Manchester United. Like, if we signed Dewsbury-Hall, I would 100% get behind him because I think he's a good player. I just don't think it's the right profile and position that we should be going for right now. That's the only reason I'm not going for it. I'd rather spend it on a different profile because I think that's more needed right now. We need someone to replace Casemiro massively. I don't think Dewsbury-Hall is that player. I know they've said to be an Eriksen replacement, but a lot of people thought that's what we bought Mount for last summer, so I just don't understand why we're going down that route again. It's like Manchester United are allergic to proper quality centre defensive midfielders or ball carrying number 8s, and instead we're just obsessed with going for this type of creative midfielder. And to be fair, Dewsbury-Hall I think can carry the ball and he is more of a number 8, but he's more of a number 8 than what Mount is, I would say. And I mean, Bruno can play as an 8 as well, but it's like we never really seem to be looking at these proper hybrid 8/6s or a number 6 that is physically capable, a good duel winner, and he's good on the football as well. Robert McCormack says, not sure if needed, but he's definitely a good footballer. Exactly what I was saying, Robert. no question about it, he's a good footballer, but I don't think he's what is needed this summer. He'd be someone I'd be looking at if we didn't have about 8 to 9 different positions that we are looking to prioritise for this summer on a tight budget with no European football. I mean, we might get Europa, but at least no Champions League football and financial fair play restrictions. Plus, we might be getting a manager in as well, and who knows what that's going to cost. Duncania says, biggest problem with Toney is his passing. 52% this season and 59% last season is atrocious, and we already have Bruno to lose the ball. I get the fact you've brought stats in, Duncania, and I appreciate the super chat, but I actually think Ivan Toney is good at linking players into play from what I've seen with my eye test. I've seen him play for England and he's good at it. I've seen him do it for Brentford. So I'm going to trust my eyes, but stats, again, thanks for bringing him in, and it is something to think about. But anyway, that's the stuff on Kiernan Dewsbury-Hall. I want to tell you what Mark said about it. So I tweeted out about what are people's thoughts on this. Goldbridge replied, no, no and no. He's another more attacking midfielder. Why would we need another one, or why would we think about turning him into a more defensive one when you can just buy one? That's where we made the mistake with Eriksen, using him as something that he isn't. Interesting take from Mark there. And that's what I mean. Very good footballer, not the position we need. And someone replied to him saying, I'd be very happy with this high energy player who'd have a point to prove. He is high energy. I think he would work in transitional football, but yeah, for me, not the priority in the summer. Let's see what your votes are on. Over 1,000 in. 56% of you say no. 44% of you say yes. So it is quite 50-50. A lot of people like him, but are we just getting dragged into shiny new toy and we're actually not prioritising the correct profiles for different positions that we need? Anyway, let's move on to the next little bit of news. So I'm going to be really quick on this because I'm really not interested in it, I'm going to be honest. But I'm bringing it in because it's a news show, and this is coming from Rich Fay, who used to work at the MEN. Graham Potter and Roberto De Zerbi are understood to be current frontrunners for Manchester United's manager job. Should it become available? Should it become available being what I'm emphasising here. Ineos also admire Julian Nagelsmann, but he looks poised to return to Bayern Munich. I do think Nagelsmann is going to go back to Bayern. As much I've said it on multiple times, if we were to move away from Ten Hag, Nagelsmann would have been my top priority. I think he's going to go back to Bayern Munich, so I'm a bit gutted about that in terms of, because I think Ineos will move Ten Hag on. It's just my gut feeling. I don't want them to, but I think they will. So I'm gutted that my top priority manager, if Ten Hag did leave, is probably going to go to Bayern. Graham Potter and Roberto De Zerbi, for me, are just both massive, massive risks that I just don't see working. I mean, I hope they would if they did get appointed, but I don't see it. I don't see it. But, like I said, should it become available, watch the interview we did with Ben Jacobs yesterday. At the moment, Ineos are only succession planning. They want to work with Ten Hag. His job's still in his hands. I think the FA Cup is huge for Eric, absolutely huge. The dressing room, is he losing it? You know, there's a lot of rumours about that at the minute, a lot to handle. We are about to hit rock bottom if we go out of the FA Cup to Coventry. Let's hope we can get that over the line. We should be able to. Going to Wembley, we'll be covering that for you on the United Stand. It is literally sink or swim for Eric. It might already be over. They might already be making their decision. Like I've said to you, I've heard from loads of different people that a lot of people think that Ten Hag's gone no matter what. It's coming out from Romano, Ben Jacobs, people that are very trusted in the journalistic world, that Ineos haven't yet made a decision on Ten Hag, and the fate is still in his hands, and we're not planning to make a decision yet on the manager. And the only shortlist we have is succession planning. We're not actually actively looking to act on that yet. So that's the only hope kind of Eric still has. He seems quite confident himself. He's still going to be in a job. So don't want to spend too long on this. We know the situation with Ten Hag. What I would say is Graham Potter, I think he's a good coach. I don't think he has the personality to manage a club like Manchester United. I think big characters will swallow him up. And for me, he just doesn't fit Manchester United. I don't think he's the right person to bring in. Do I think he's a top priority for Ineos? Absolutely. He's been linked to them before. He was someone they were massively looking at for the niche job. Does that mean he'll go for the Man United job? No. I mean, Ben Jacobs spoke about this on the show yesterday, so you can have a full clarification of an update if you watch that show. But Graham Potter is absolutely high priority on the list. De Zerbi I don't see happening because of the money it would cost. I don't. Plus, again, a huge risk. Very, very stubborn. He's prone to a battering, but also, if it worked, it worked. Pep's a massive lover of his, and I respect what Pep has done in football, even though I don't like the fact he's made the Premier League into a one-horse race the majority of the time, and he's obviously taken one of our biggest rivals to new heights, and heights that could even surpass, you know, what United was doing if they win the four-peat this year and they win a second treble. Like, that makes me so unhappy. But what he's done in football is, I completely respect him as a manager and what he's done. So De Zerbi's a difficult one, because I think he has the potential to be a top manager. His football clearly has massive potential, and he's got a style of play, but he's also prone to a battering, and I think it's one of them where it either goes massively successful or it massively fails. Both of them are not convincing options for me. So for me, Graham Potter and De Zerbi would be a no. I would give Ten Hag another year, personally. Get in the chat what you think, but I'd take them both over Gareth Southgate. If I had to pick between Potter and De Zerbi, I'd go with De Zerbi. But both of them, I wouldn't be actively looking to replace Ten Hag with, I'm going to be honest. Based on both of the track records at the moment and where Ten Hag's at, I'd just give Ten Hag another year. For how much it would cost to get De Zerbi out of Brighton, £15 million. Sacking Ten Hag's going to be 10 million. Graham Potter, for me, just doesn't have the personality to manage Manchester United, and we need a big personality if we were going to make that change right now. You need someone who's going to clamp down on these players and be the boss. We've seen how well that worked at Chelsea. I know Chelsea is a little bit of it's kind of, you know, you're walking into a graveyard. You're kind of walking into a job that's really tough to do. I get all them points. But for me, I'm looking at them two options, and it's like, why am I pulling the trigger to sack Ten Hag based on the fact De Zerbi is a huge risk, and it could, don't get me wrong, De Zerbi, I think it could go massively well, but it also could massively fail. A huge risk, and Graham Potter for me just isn't the guy. So yeah, I wouldn't be looking to do that. For the money it'd cost and for the types of managers they are, I would just ride it out with Ten Hag and give him a chance next season. Get in the comments what you think. A lot of people saying Unai Emery, no way he'd leave Aston Villa if he gets Champions League football with them, and the tools that he's gave them. He's doing a fantastic job. He started a project. Aston Villa are on the up, by the way. Unai Emery's a top manager, honestly. I really do respect him, what he's done this season. I mean, I always knew he was a good manager, and I always knew he was well regarded in Europe, but what he's doing with Aston Villa, huge. A lot of people saying Xavi from Barca. I'm not against it, but again, I'm not sold on it. I'm not sold on anyone. Do you know what I mean? Like, before, when Solskjaer went, I was adamant I wanted Ten Hag, and I thought he was the right guy. And I was so excited about that appointment. There's no one out there now that I think, yes, he is the right person for Man United. He's what we need. Like, Xavi, I wouldn't be against it if we went for him. I don't think it'll happen, but I wouldn't be against it. It's like De Zerbi, I'd get behind it, and I'd see the hope in it. Potter, I'd be pretty disappointed, to be honest, but, you know, you'd have to suck it up. Southgate, I'd lose my mind. Nagelsmann, I'd be excited, to be fair, but there's no one that is massively, for me, like, yes, this is the right guy. Nagelsmann, I would feel that way about if we did make that change, but I think he's going to go to Bayern Munich. So, yeah, Xavi, for me, I just don't think it's going to happen. Tuchel's a no. I don't think he's the right manager for United. So, yeah, someone like Xabi Alonso, if he wasn't ex-Liverpool and he wasn't staying at Leverkusen, if he wasn't staying at Leverkusen, that's a kind of coach that would massively excite you. But he's not going to come to United because of, obviously, his ties to Liverpool in the past, and he's staying at Leverkusen, so there's not even any point having a conversation about it. I'm just telling you the types of managers you get excited about, but there's no one that does that for me. I mean, Ancelotti is one that you'd absolutely love, wouldn't it be? But he's not going to come to Man United, never in a million years, I don't think. So, yeah, that's where we're at. What I did see someone say the other day, I can't remember who it was, and I'd give him credit for this, but I saw someone say this, and I think it's a really good kind of phrase to come back to, and I'm going to say it to all you guys, and I'm going to keep this as a phrase on the United stand, and it's quite sad that we have to do this phrase, but I think it's a phrase that Man United should think about. And the phrase is, what would Real Madrid do? Out of all the clubs that have been European giants and been massively successful in Europe, Real Madrid are the one club that haven't really had a fall off and have always been competing at the top, always been competing in Europe, always been going getting the best players, always been adapting and getting better and changing with the times. You know, Milan has fallen off, Barcelona's fallen off, Man United's fallen off massively. You know, Liverpool has had ups and downs. So many big clubs have had ups and downs within Europe and also, you know, just in general. Real Madrid are always at the top. So my question now when I'm thinking about Manchester United, what would Real Madrid do? Because if you want to be a big club, act like one. And Real Madrid always have the confidence to make risky decisions and ruthless decisions. And that's what United would do. United need to have. You know, would Real Madrid go and appoint Graham Potter as their successive manager to Ancelotti? I very highly doubt it. So why would Manchester United go down that route as well? Would Real Madrid go and buy a declining midfielder from Manchester United for £70 million and stick him on a 5-year contract? No, they wouldn't. And I love Casemiro and he was great last year, but that was a mistake, wasn't it? And there's so many things that I think about and I think we need to start acting like a big club. And the one club that I think acts that way and he's constantly looking to be at the top and he's ruthless with their decisions is Real Madrid. So it's unfortunate that that's where I'm looking to because we should be acting like that. But it's something that I want to use as a phrase on the show. What would Real Madrid do in that circumstance? Because they're a big club and they have proven to be successful time and time again. Anyway, wanted to bring that into the chat because I think it's a really interesting point. Dewsbury-Hall to United, 58% say no, 42% say yes. We can end that poll there. Last little bit of news I want to bring into the show. Great, I've done the Graham Potter and De Zerbi stuff. So coming in from Italy, Juventus are interested in Mason Greenwood and Man United are keen on Grayson Bremer. Both clubs are considering making a potential swap deal to offer between the two players. What do you think about this? I'm going to be completely honest. I think this is a load of rubbish. We had Romano on the show a couple of weeks ago and Romano said, as of now, Juventus are not in for Mason Greenwood. They're going for different profiles. And yes, Man United have Grayson Bremer on their list. Juventus are open to selling him, but it's nothing to do with Mason Greenwood, and that's just a connection that's being made in the media. Grayson Bremer would be an independent deal of the Mason Greenwood deal. Mason Greenwood is getting looked at by a lot of Spanish clubs in the Premier League as well, apparently. He's getting looked at by a lot of clubs, and United will probably sell him, but Juventus and United aren't currently looking to do a swap deal. So I don't think this news is true. Wanted to bring it in just because it's a news show. But I definitely do think we will sell Greenwood and we are looking at Grayson Bremer. They're two things that are, I think, true. I just don't think it'll be a swap deal and they're very hard to pull off. Last little thing as well is Man United apparently are looking at assessments on the possible replacement for Aaron Wan-Bissaka. Been a little bit of news and rumours and rumblings that Wan-Bissaka might move on in the summer. We've heard this for a couple transfer windows now. I do think it might happen, and we got the news coming in that Frimpong is being followed by both Bayern and Real Madrid, but Manchester United have him up there, high on the list as a preferred name. Obviously, £34 million release clause is a steal for a player of that quality. Is he the right profile? But for that quality, huge steal. So Frimpong, I think, is a deal that Man United could be looking to do in the summer. It's exciting. It's an exciting deal because, you know, if you get a decent little fee for Wan-Bissaka and you replace him with Frimpong for 34 million, it's basically like a swap because I think you'd get around 30 million for Wan-Bissaka. So, you know, it's a good deal to do if that does happen. But, you know, there's a lot of top clubs looking at Frimpong. So it's whether United would be able to get in there. At the moment, you know, if he's picking between Real Madrid, Bayern and United, he's probably bottom of the list. But Romano did say that Frimpong wants to come to England. So that's one to watch, and I think that's going to heat up over the next few weeks as well. But also, apparently, Koundé is appreciated a lot due to his versatility to play at centre-back. I can believe that. United also looking at centre-backs. We've seen Man United interested in Timber under Erik ten Hag, who can play at centre-back and as a right-back. That's something that I think there is a little bit of truth. I think Koundé's always been on our radar. And then also apparently Denzel Dumfries as well. I think he'll be on the list, but I just don't think there's any chance of Dumfries coming to United. I don't think that's one that we'll actively pursue. United always have lists of players, but I don't think he's a top target. I think Koundé's one to watch, but I think mainly Frimpong is probably the guy that United would go for first as a right-back replacement for Wan-Bissaka. Getting your thoughts about that. But look, everyone, that is the news today. Jam-packed 2 p.m. show, got a lot of interaction going, loved speaking to you guys about it, got the polls going. So get in the comments down below, who should be United striker? Should we go for Dewsbury-Hall? If we shouldn't, what profile and what names are you looking at? And how do you see Manchester United summer transfer window going? We're at this point now where things are going to start to heat up. We've not had any absolute confirmations of targets and, you know, where we're heading to first, really, apart from Michael Elise from Crystal Palace. Things now, plans are going to be starting to put in place, and I feel like more and more stuff's going to come out, and it's going to be a very interesting transfer window, to say the least. We've got a lot of priorities. United are going to be very, very busy, we hope anyway, and hopefully some outgoings as well. And remember the phrase, what would Real Madrid do? Think about that when you're thinking about making decisions for Manchester United. Look, everyone, have a cracking day. Champions League back tonight, so Mark will be on the channel a bit earlier at 7 p.m. for the 7 p.m. evening show. I'm sure it'll be a cracker. God, I wish we were in the Champions League, playing the way that Champions League teams are playing right now. What a quarterfinals it has been. Yesterday, I mean, it was just... I actually watched the Atletico Dortmund game because I was looking at Sancho. I mean, what a game. And then I heard the PSG Barca one was amazing as well. I watched the highlights of that. And then tonight, which one are you putting on? Real Madrid City or Bayern Arsenal? I think I'm going to go with Real Madrid City. I think that's the route I'm going to go down because I'm a Real Madrid fan tonight. That's where I'm at. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching the show. Hit a like on the video on the way out. Have a lovely rest of your day, and we'll see you on the next one.